It's the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the OddPods Media Network. Recorded from Detroit, Michigan, and Jacksonville, Florida. The Infectious Groove Podcast is your source for jammy jams, album reviews, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
And this week, our theme song doesn't lie. We do have hosts this week. It's not just me representing the Infectious Groove Podcast. This week, Michelle is back with us. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm just wonderful. I love it here. Everything's great.
As it was coming out of my mouth, I realized that I did not get your applause drop that I said I would, which is, yeah, I know. That was the sound of Michelle quitting the show. Richie, not to put you on the spot, but can we just, the two of us?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That other rousing round of applause came from Richie from the Super Media Brothers. And if you listen to our show for any amount of time, you hear us talk about how we are part of the OddPods Media Network. And if you listen to all of our episodes, right there in the middle, you always hear us rotate through the trailers and commercials for the fine selection of programs on the OddPods roster, not the least of which is the Super Media Brothers. They go as far back as being founding members of the OddPods Media Network. Richie, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on. Also, I enjoyed that very enthusiastic golf clap.
I enjoyed it probably a little more.
I assure you that was the best I could muster.
As you should. You should always enjoy a golf clap.
It's always great.
Back to Richie. Richie, what is it y'all do over there at the Super Media Brothers?
Over at the Super Media Brothers podcast, we talk about cult films, music, pro wrestling, really anything that you can find in pop culture, but we tried to pick out either indie artists in music, or we go for, like I mentioned just a while ago, cult films where it's more underground B-movie stuff that doesn't really get a chance to see more light of day like, mainstream releases do. And then pro wrestling, which I've always wanted to talk about pro wrestling on the show. And we just started doing that as of January this year. So it's been pretty fun.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple of your WWE recaps of some classic pay-per-views and some current stuff, and it's a lot of fun. Michelle is a huge wrestling fan, so I'm sure she's going to go back and check out some of those episodes.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So much wrestling.
That's on your to-do list, like for tomorrow, Michelle, I assume.
Yeah, shoe shopping.
Right. So having said that, we always say this, but, they have their own website. Is it Super Media Brothers Podcast or supermediabrothers.com?
It's supermediabrospodcast.com.
I was wrong both times. Supermediabros.com. And then you can also go to oddpodsmedia.com, or you can pretty much with all podcasts these days, you can just Google Super Media Brothers Podcast and it will show up in the search engine for you to go pretty much anywhere and subscribe to their show. So if you like any of those things that Richie said that they cover, which is pretty much everything, then you should definitely check out their program. And Richie's going to take the next hour and continue to convince you why you should listen to his show, because he's going to share all sorts of cool stuff with us, including his jammy jams. And when we get into the second half of the program, Richie is a person like myself and Michelle, to an extent. You've gone to more than a few of your live music affairs in your time. So
just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple few. There was a point where I think you and I were at concerts like more nights of the week than not.
There have been those weeks, which are great.
Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. And Richie does that as well, not just concerts, but other live events. And so in the second half of this episode, we are going to get into how things have changed since the lockdowns are more or less over, and what those events have looked like for us, what we think the future is going to look like, and maybe some personal stories about some of the things that have occurred to us while we've gone to some events since everything is getting more back to Dr. Evil quotes normal. But before we get into all that, we do have pressing matters to handle here in the first half, not the least of which is some feedback.
Feedback, John. Don't worry about that. Right. Don't rock and roll me without feedback.
Seth writes in and says, I loved this episode. I'm sad to hear about Kyle, but I can't wait till he comes back. Anyways, I was shocked when I heard that you hadn't heard the Arcade Fire's music. I would recommend and own this album on vinyl. For further listening, I recommend Neon Bible and Funeral, some indie classics. And I think a lot of people were surprised that at no point had I listened to the Arcade Fire. And it was so random that we had Dayton from the Docking Bay podcast on, who he knows his way around music. And he also, as soon as the pick came in from the crowdsource pick, he was like, oh my God, I've never listened to this band. So it was like two cool perspectives to have on it. Like two people who are pretty well versed in music coming in completely blind to this band and album.
Yeah, I'd initially thought that the album was picked by him. Like, I didn't realize that it was nobody's pick on the show.
Yep.
Which I feel like was very interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was very cool. Richie, are you versed at all in Arcade Fire? Like, or no?
I would listen if their stuff was on, but I never went out of my way to listen to it. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
It's not that I don't like them or like I'm a big fan, but if they're on, I'll listen to them. I like them okay.
Right on. Well, if you want to know how I feel about them, you can go back and listen to last week's episode where I covered my feelings extensively. Our friend Lauren, who we know very well, writes in and says, the Jammy Jams for Russ this week were Never and Always. All he needed was Britney Spears sometimes to complete the trifecta. Which I didn't even think about that my two Jammy Jams, two of my Jammy Jams last week were by different bands, but one song was called Never and the other was called Always. Garrett is the gentleman who picked the Arcade Fire, the album The Suburbs, for us to listen to. He writes in and says, I am so happy you guys both enjoyed this album. I agree with just about everything you said. And yes, Rococo is definitely the weakest song on the album. Nice work, which that was, we both went in, of course, blind to this, and we both only had one. And it wasn't even like a full stinker. It was like if I had to name a stinker on this record, but we both picked the exact same track, which was interesting as well. We have a new listener who goes by the handle Vocalist Pianist, and they say, I just found this podcast and holy cow, it's awesome. It is really nice for me after all the nastiness and injustice in the world to listen to a podcast that just celebrates an amazing genius music. Thank you so much for doing this show, which I think is awesome.
That's what we set out to do.
That is what we set out to do. And Michelle, I always assume that they're just talking about you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is that?
So we did it. That means we can stop.
Yeah. Now that they found us.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we want to be clear. They weren't calling us amazing and genius. They were saying we celebrate things that are amazing and genius.
That's not the way I heard it.
Yeah. As if I wasn't aware that you heard it the complete wrong way. But we did not have too much feedback this week because we're recording a little bit earlier than we usually do. But if you want to leave us any feedback, you can, again, like I said, with Richie's show, you can just Google Infectious Groove Podcast. You can go right to our website. You can find us on all social media and just leave us a comment anywhere. You can also leave us a voicemail at 313-364-9899. And as I've offered several times on the show before, if you write us an email, I will give you Michelle's home address. You can just go over there and knock on the door anytime. And according to the gesture I'm receiving from Michelle, I have achieved #1 status again. Moving right along.
Yep.
Our Jammies. Our Jammy Jams, it's the best segment in all of podcasting. It's where we tell you what we've been listening to and why, so that even if you say, wow, I really don't like that band, we're going to talk so highly of it, at least Richie and I are, that you're going to want to go listen to it. And then Michelle's going to say, I don't know, if you have time and you're not doing anything else, maybe check out this song that I liked as well.
And here's an unjam and a podcast.
Yeah, here's a podcast. Here's an audiobook. Here's a song I really don't like all that much, but I heard a lot this week for some reason. Yeah. Richie, you have never been on our program before, but you know how we do this. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to you to start with. What have you been listening to and why?
I've got 3 this week.
Right on. That's 2 more than Michelle.
So 2 of them dropped on the same day. First of all, Blue October's new album, Spinning the Truth Around, just came out. It's part 1. So I'm assuming there's going to be a second one, hopefully sooner than later.
Right on.
And to be honest, this album, this is going to sound so terrible, but Justin, their singer and obviously main songwriter, he sounds the best and writes the best when he's like going through some stuff.
Right.
And this is an album where he's going through some stuff.
Yeah.
And you can tell just lyrically, and it's good. Not that their stuff is not good, because I quite enjoy the band as a whole, but this album is really strong. It's got a lot of great tracks on it. I listened to it from front to back. I didn't skip anything, which if you can just hook me front to back on an album, then
yeah, I get that. And you know, when you talk about that too, it's like, I know this is going to come off as funny, but I really don't mean it this way. But that's why I don't like the last 10 Bon Jovi records, because Bon Jovi has like nothing to complain about. You know what I mean? Like, he's like a millionaire. He's married to his high school sweetheart. Like, and so the last like 10 Bon Jovi records are like, you know, like, oh, hey, here's some songs. You know, like, I like the Jovi when there was like conflict going on in his life and he was writing different songs from different perspectives. So I totally get that. Like, when an artist is going, you don't wish it on an artist, But when they're going through something, it's certainly more helpful to you.
Sure. But speaking of Bon Jovi, I remember the turning point for me, not to go on a side tangent too hard, but I remember the turning point for me was when Have a Nice Day came out. I was just like, oh, come on, dude. Like, I like what you're doing, but this ain't it, Chief.
Well, it's because they did it.
Like
they did the same thing 3 times in a row. They had a huge hit with It's My Life off of Crush. And then they turned right around and put the same song out again, but just called it Every Day was the lead single from Bounce. And then they were like, let's see if we can pull this off a 3rd time. And the problem with Have a Nice Day is that they did with everybody except for like me and you, like they played even bigger venues. And so they were like, oh, well, let's just keep doing that.
Right. And he even admitted somewhere, it was either him or Richie Sambora that had admitted this in an interview.
It's John. It's in a documentary. Yep.
Yeah. Or they were like, oh, yeah, we're going to purposely write this every time. That's what the fans want. They want Living on a Prayer and It's My Life.
Yep.
Over and over and over.
John Bon Jovi said, and it's a documentary called When We Were Young. He was like, listen, I do a lot of things, but I'm like the leader of this corporation. He's like, I want to sell my customers what they want. And my customers told me this is the product they want. And I'll tell you what, man, at least he came out and said it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of artists who would like BS their way through it. And John was just like, nope. Like, we're going to keep doing this because this is what sells. So,
yep.
So anyways, my Bon Jovi tangent aside, what else have you been listening to besides that Blue October record, which I've heard good things about, by the way?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Definitely check it out. Anybody out there listening, please go check it out. It's awesome. So the other 2 are kind of 1 and 1, for me, as far as like one I just discovered because of an announcement of a tour and a band going back on tour. And the other one was the single that was released from said band. And that would be Edging by Blink-182. And then the band Turnstile. I just started listening to Time and Space and Glow On, those 2 albums. And oh my God, talk about 2 different styles from each band, but fun. Obviously, like Blink-182, Tom DeLonge is back in the band, and they have been in secret recording, which is not even a secret. It was like the worst kept secret. They've been recording an album to release in 2023, and they're going on a massive world tour, going back to Australia for the first time in so long. The single is classic Blink, but with a little bit of progression. Like the time signature they used on this one is not something that they've really toyed around with much, and I thought it was fun. A mixture of like where they're wanting to go and, obviously like their sound as, that specific trio.
Right.
And Turnstile is a band that is actually going to be opening on some of the select dates of this tour that they're going on. So I was like, well, let me get used to this band because I'm probably going to see them in Houston, which I bought my tickets for. Dude, they're great. Turnstile is like this, it's like pop punk, but like old school, like post-hardcore and hardcore kind of music, like meshed together. And then really like dream pop sounding kind of stuff in the background. It's different sounding, but I like it. It's accessible, but with an edge to it.
Right on.
I dig it a lot.
Are they an older band? Like, have they been around a while?
Turnstile?
Yeah.
As far as I know, oh God, I'd probably be lying if I said exactly when, but I know their first album came out in like 2015. And I want to say they did like some EPs maybe
I don't know. Coming up on a decade. You've been around.
I was thinking that they were like as old as Blink-182.
Dude, they might be. So
I might be thinking of a different band. The name sounds familiar, but the band I'm thinking of has been around for a while.
Okay, they've been around since 2010.
I don't know what I'm thinking of. Okay.
2010. So yeah, that's a while. It's not quite as old as Blink. Now, Richie, you said you bought tickets to that tour. I'll tell you who bought the tickets the fastest of anybody I've ever met is Michelle. Because if you know, she loves a deal on tickets, and they were reasonably priced. Michelle, did you just go all like whatever the highest tier VIP was for this, since the tickets were so reasonably priced?
I did not. I did not.
You did not.
I saw Blink with Green Day when I was in high school. And it was like, I remember begging my mom and I was like, this is the tour. Like, this is the tour that I need to go to if I'm going to see these bands. Like, this is the one. And I begged her for weeks to buy me tickets. And then we went and we had main floor and they made me take my studded belt off and they threw it away. And I was so sad.
I just shed a tear for you.
Thank you. But that tour for me was great. It was iconic. It was like definitely a highlight of my high school years. And I enjoy Blink-182, but it's not worth the price for me after like I have this great memory and I don't want to ruin it. So
sure. The Pop Disaster Tour was like every child or pop punk kid's dream at that point in time. Cause you had Blink arguably before their Untitled album came out, arguably at their peak. And then Green Day, who is like, that band is just a freaking legendary band. I wanted to go to that tour and I missed it. In fact, I never got to see Blink-182 until their first reunion with Tom in 2009, and I watched them, and it was them and Fall Out Boy, All American Rejects, and Asher Roth. Weird lineup, but it was a lot of fun. I want to see them again. I didn't get a chance to see them with Matt Skiba whenever he was in the band, which I was still sad about not getting to see. But yeah, the ticket pricing has to do with Ticketmaster doing that. I can't remember what to call
pricing.
it, but
dynamic pricing. They have taken to the airline model for ticket pricing, and that's why tickets are outrageous when they go on sale, and then when they go through surges and all of that. And we've done episodes on this. We could do more episodes on this. As far as ticket prices goes, I do understand fans being upset, but you got to hate the player, not the game, or you hate the game, not the player, because Pearl Jam tried to tell us about this like 35 years ago, and everybody laughed at Pearl Jam. And so now this is what you get. So,
and can't attack the artist, man. Like, because I've been to these guys before, obviously, and I just saw Angels and Airwaves in last December, and the tickets both times were extremely reasonably priced. I think I paid like $100 for both tickets to Angels and Airwaves, and it was in a smaller, intimate venue, so I expected to pay more money, obviously.
Right.
This is at the Toyota Center in Houston that this is going to, and you normally play amphitheaters, outdoors. So I was surprised, but I knew going into it, okay, this is a basketball arena. The ticket prices are going to be through the roof anyway.
Right.
I just went straight for the nosebleeds because I was not even about to try to get floor or like
you
lower
can still
level.
hear them from the nosebleeds.
Yep, I do the same
And
thing.
I just want to be there. I
went to it, and we'll get into this, but I went into a general admission show about 3 weeks ago, and we literally walked all the way to the last row to sit down, because I was like, I am at an age where I am absolutely over being close to anybody, like not the artist or anybody. Like, I'm good. I can sit back and watch the screen these days. I'm fine.
What's funny is when I was a kid, I remember main floor standing room being more expensive. And then you got the cheap seats up in the balcony where you sit down. I swear to God, every show I've looked at recently, all the seats are like double the price as main floor. They're like, we know y'all old and you're going to pay to sit down.
Y'all want to sit down.
In your comfort.
Richie, if you would please, just kind of an editor's note here, just sometime in the next couple of days, shoot me a quick email with maybe just one or two tracks from each of those records that you recommended, so we can put them on our playlist on Spotify.
Absolutely.
I would rather, we can just pick two random tracks, but I would rather pick like a couple that basically what I would say is, if you were going to sit someone down with Spotify and go, hey, listen to this album, just give me the two tracks you would play first for him.
Well, I got you, fam.
He got him. Michelle, you told us ahead of time you were going to be so prepared for your Jammy Jams. So I want you to commit this the most prepared you've ever been. What are your Jammy Jams?
So I have So I discovered a new artist. He's not new, but his album just came out. His name is Noah. I don't know how to say his last name. Kahan, Kahan. And the song is called Northern Attitude, which is the single off his record. It's called Stick Season.
That is a great record.
A lot of thumbs up going on over there from Richie.
I was like, there's a lot of I just looked up and there was arm flailing. And
you're like, either Richie's watching sports while he's doing this, or I said something good.
Yeah. It actually, and I'm not even ashamed of it. It came up on TikTok. They were doing an unplugged version, just like a 30-second clip. And it had me hooked within like 5 seconds. I was like, this is exactly me. And I looked it up, and then I realized that the whole album had come out the next day, and I listened to it all, and I'm listening to it. Kyle's listening to it. I really enjoy it. So
it's awesome.
And then I know this is not allowed, but Serial came out with a new season.
Okay.
This last week. And
now you're not going to know if I was asking about adult film or Serial when I asked this, but who are they trying to get off now?
They're not. It's actually just a 3-part series that has to do with pretty much daily life during COVID, like how families struggled if you have difference of opinions and stuff like that, and how you deal with that inside, like with your most intimate people.
Who has differences of opinions? I never see that on social media.
I know. So it was just, at first I was like, I don't really know where this is going, and I really want to be like, there to be mystery and like solve something. But I was hooked, and I listened to all 3 episodes, and I loved it, and I would recommend it to anybody who would like Serial, actually.
I love the fact that that's been a running joke for a long time, but then here you come just out of nowhere with and I was listening to a podcast.
That was what I've been listening to.
No, I know. I kid. But But yeah, but I am excited that you found a new artist, and I know it's a running joke with ticket prices and you, but I would imagine that's an artist that you could probably see in a good size venue for a good price. So I would tell you to keep an eye out for when they're going to come near Detroit before you turn around twice and you're like, oh, I should have saw them before they blew up.
Yeah. You're probably right. I should probably look into that.
God, I got to make a super cut of every time you've ever seen, right?
You're the worst.
I am the worst. As far as my jammy jams go, we just saw Alfred Yankovic in concert the other night, and literally like 3 or 4 times throughout the day with different Weird Al fans that I talked to, they kept saying, what's the one song you want him to do? And I really couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever this guy does, like every song that he starts, I'm going to be like, yes. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to do anything that I'm going to be like, oh, not this song.
You don't have a peace song?
Not at a Weird Al concert. No, especially not this tour where he's not doing any. Like if it was a parody tour and he was doing like Amish Paradise or like Smells Like Nirvana or White and Nerdy, like the moment any of those started, I would go. But like his originals, he doesn't do an original that I wouldn't want to hear like twice in a row. About 3 songs into the show, I don't know why, but it hit me. Which, by the way, his set lists are different every night. Like he does almost a completely different set list every night. So it's not like I could look it up and be like, oh, he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing this. So about 3 songs into the show, it just hit me out of nowhere. And I was like, oh man, I just realized this is the one I want to hear. And then like 2 songs later, he did Generic Blues, which is one of my favorite Weird Al original songs that there is. It's from the UHF album. It's like a great blues song in the first place, and then it's a absolutely fantastic Weird Al Yankovic song on top of that, and they tore the hell out of it. Like they did a fantastic live version of it. So that I pretty much listened to like the studio version on repeat over the last couple of days since then. Another one of my jammy jams has been somehow the other day, the song She's So High by Tal Bachman crossed my ears. And just like me, it's now going to be stuck in everyone's head that is listening to this, along with Richie and Michelle. That is such a great song. It really is such a great song. And all I had to hear was like half of the chorus. And I was like, well, now I'm going to put this on repeat. Like we're going to hear this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I've been listening to quite a bit is, and you can't, or at least you can't get this on the streaming services I literally have a folder that I keep in my Dropbox of albums, full artists, and one-off songs that you can't get on the streaming services that I have, which I have Spotify and Tidal. And there's like a good amount of artists missing from both of those. So I literally keep a folder in my Dropbox just for that. And in that folder, I have Dr. Dre, The Chronic 2001. And I've been re-listening to that again so much lately. I mean, we'll probably bring it around for an album review one of these days. That record is straight fire. Like the whole everything about that record is absolutely fantastic. Richie was furiously shaking his head up and down. Richie, I'll let you take it. Preach about The Chronic for a second. 2001, actually.
Oh my God, The Chronic. So that was one of those records, albums that come out when, you hear it, it's like an instant classic.
Oh, yep.
Right gate. Like that's really, I could say much more about it, but like that right there is probably the best, like just one sentence selling point on that. It was an instant classic when it came out. You'd probably enjoy this.
Yep.
Here you go.
Anybody who happens to like the record, all I have to say is things just ain't the same for gangsters. And as soon as you say that, like you're hearing that the entirety of the rest of the record in your head.
Wait, are you saying that it's not on streaming?
The Chronic 2001, I don't believe is on any streaming service except maybe Apple. I think Dre's got a deal with Apple, I think, where the Chronic and the Chronic 2001 are on Apple and not Spotify, I believe.
Yes, it is on Apple Music.
Yeah. Oh, no, Michelle's got it on there on Spotify. Apparently it is now. Well, then I can retire it from my Dropbox folder then, because I've been listening to it out of my Dropbox the whole week.
I wasn't trying to be shitty. I just couldn't believe you. Like, I was like, that's crazy. I didn't even realize that it wasn't on there. And then there it is.
I like, by the way, how when you do something nice, you just assume that I think it was something shitty.
Well, like 99.9% of the time it is. Because
it generally can be backhanded from you. That
was the one time.
That is to be expected. That was a little bit of feedback. That was a little bit of an introduction to Richie. And we went through our Jammy Jams as we always do. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back from break, as you heard in this half of the episode, we are all pretty well versed in the ways of live events. And I don't know if you know this, but we were all deprived of live events for quite a bit. So Now that we're back at it, the three of us are going to talk through what we missed, what has gone on since, and what we think the future holds. We'll be right back in a minute. You're listening to the Infectious Groove Podcast on the OddPods Media Network.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
I'm Jamie.
We're Married with Television, marriedwithtv.com. We are a couple of Hollywood normies on the outskirts of the film and TV industry, and we talk about our favorite TV shows, music, and movies, and sometimes they talk back to us.
Sometimes they do.
Our podcast is Married with Television, one word, on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Possibly Amazon soon. And we are a proud member of the OddPods Media Network.
Married with TV.
MarriedWithTV.com.
Hey, I'm Lauren,
And I'm John.
and we host the Beard Al Podcast, the podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al.
And a lot of other things. We're funny.
Yeah, that's basically what I told him to say. Good job with your
I
script.
listen.
Yay! But no, seriously, we try and pair a beer with a Weird Al song and talk about both things and go where the conversation takes us. It's fun, I promise. You'll like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like talking about random things as well as, fine craft beers and some wonderful craft music.
We are back. It's Russ, and you're in luck because Michelle is also here representing the Infectious Groove Podcast. Michelle, you still with us, Michelle? You good? Yeah.
I mean, it is my bedtime, but yes, I'm still here.
Yeah, 8:33 in the PM is often when adults go to sleep. Richie, it doesn't count for you. You're up at the crack of dawn every day, so it would be understood if you were in bed this early.
This is no lie, sir. I'm a night owl anyway, so this is it kind of doubly sucks. I have to wake up really early for work, but I'm already awake because I'm a night owl, but it's not me doing something I really want to be doing.
Right. The other day when NHL 23 came out on the Xbox, my son texted me like 5 a.m. and he's like, NHL 23 is awesome. And I was like, I can't get on and play at 5 a.m. He's like, it's fine. I've been on since 1. It's like, good Lord.
Wait, why can't you get on at 5 a.m?
Because I didn't feel like it. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play hockey at 5 a.m.
So it's not that you couldn't. It's that you wouldn't.
Moving on to our main topic. So what's funny about this particular topic is one of the things back when we started this podcast, because we literally put out our first episode like 3 weeks before the entirety of the world got put on lockdown. Okay. And one of the main concept we've always adhered to is the whole being positive. Like, we're not going to crap on any music. We're just going to talk about the things we like instead of the things we don't like. Except for Creed. As we know, it's an outrunning. I just can't help it. Outside of that, though, if we don't like it, we don't cover it. That was one of our main goals. Another thing we were going to talk about was going to be, we toyed at the beginning with the idea of album reviews. And then one of the main features of the show was supposed to be, because Michelle and I constantly were at concerts and gone. If I were to guess, I'd say, Michelle, we have to have been to, 100, 200 shows together, at a guess over time, something like that.
Yeah, probably in one summer.
Yeah, probably in 1 year. So the idea was going to be then we'll talk about, we'll do review episodes hey, we're going to see the show, and then we'll talk through the whole thing. And then 3 weeks into doing the podcast, the entirety of the world had live events as a whole taken away from them. So no concerts, no wrestling events, no sporting of any kind. So that pulled an entire leg out from under what we were going to do, and a huge part of our lives. That's what we did for fun, was go out to see live bands of all kinds, from the tiny up and coming bands in clubs or underneath the club. If you're in Detroit,
Bowling alleys.
Yeah. Yes. Richie, Michelle is doing an inside joke there because she was kind-hearted enough to be the only person to go with me to see Sebastian Bach when he was playing a bowling alley. So,
This is little known artist,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did he remember you?
Oh, good one. Good one.
Thanks.
That's a good one. So we all endured through the whole thing, the complete and total lockdown. And then eventually things started opening up little bit by little bit. And to my knowledge, I believe all of us have been to a bunch of live events, sports and music and otherwise since then. So I wanted to start out the discussion that way and kind of discuss what type of events each of us have been to. So Michelle, we'll start with you. I personally have been to live events with you, so I know that you have been. But what sizes? I don't even know like what size events have you been from, like clubs to stadiums up again since things started going, or have you only been to arena shows? What have you been to?
I went to Monster Jam at Ford Field. Ford Field's pretty big, yeah.
Ford Field being a stadium.
What's the difference between a stadium and arena?
Oh, my dear Lord. We've covered this on the show before, but we will cover it again. Arenas generally will hold like basketball and hockey for sporting, and they usually hold, Richie, correct me if I'm wrong, between about 16 to 20,000 people. It's about what you're looking for an arena. Stadiums generally will start at about 35,000 and go up to... Well, I mean, they can go up to like 100K, but generally they're between like 35,000 and 75-ish. Yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, does it go Comerica, LCA, Ford Field?
Comerica is also a stadium. So that and Ford Field. And also,
Okay, anyways.
remember that we have listeners worldwide, so they're probably not familiar with the brand names as you're using.
That's why I'm asking you.
The baseball,
You brought this out. I'm just trying to
baseball
get-
park and local football field, yes, are both stadiums.
Okay.
And
Anyways,
then
so-
what you're referring to as LCA is an arena, so that would be where your regular arena show would happen. Yes.
Yeah. So the first show we went to was City in Color at the Fillmore, and we were wearing masks until we sat in literally the back row, and no one was around us, and we didn't wear masks. And then the next thing we did was Monster Jam, and we brought masks, and not one other person was wearing a mask. And this was like February of this year, and I was just shocked. Like, not that it was fine, but I just expected everyone to still be wearing masks.
Well, yeah, we'll get into the procedures in a little bit here, just like what was in place and what wasn't. So you've been to at least, so where was the City and Color show in Detroit?
Fillmore.
At the Fillmore. Okay, so that's a theater show. So you're looking between like 2,000 and 4,000 there.
Yes, and then all the way up to Ford Field, and then everything in between. I mean, the last couple shows that we've been to were probably Fillmore size.
Okay, so like between 2,000 and 5,000. So you haven't been to anything like super close quarters yet, like a club show, something like for you, Michelle. And I'm not being funny, but like the Shelter, like a 200-300 size gathering. You haven't been to anything like that yet.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I have.
Outside of your personal birthday bash, I assume there was probably 200, 300, 400 people there.
Of course.
Yeah. Richie, what's it look like for you? I know I've seen on social media that you've been to stadium shows, you've been to arenas and whatnot, but what about the smaller venues? Have you been there too?
Yeah, I've got 6 shows, I think within the past year that I've been to. So we were welcomed back during the return from, a lot of lockdown and Hella Mega Tour with the Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Weezer. That was the first big show we went back to. And it was in Minute Maid Field, which is the Houston Astros baseball stadium. And there were about 47,000 people there. It was a pretty big show.
Damn.
Again, we went there, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, it's a big open, baseball field, and we're just gonna go listen to some rock show and have a blast. Like, it felt good to get back. It was like after I hadn't been to a show probably in like 2 years, 2.5 years before that. So I kind of didn't know what to do with myself, really.
It's funny with that particular show, by the way, not to cut you off, but that particular show, I know enough people across the U.S. of around the same age and the same taste that I was like able to watch that tour go across the U.S. on Facebook. Because like, one night you would be like, oh, look, we're at the show. And then like 2 nights later in like Minneapolis, my friend was like going to the show. You know what I mean? Like literally I was able to watch that tour across the U.S.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, like I actually have because I was listing all the shows or whatever, and it's all somehow in order that I saw them from then until now. Angels and Airwaves was the next concert that we had gone to, and this was in a smaller venue in Houston. It was at the House of Blues.
So
and
that's a couple
they
thousand,
didn't sell it out. They sold out all the floor the general admission tickets, and then I think we had maybe like 30 seats at the balcony that were just empty. Which I mean, it's the House of Blues. Most people buy the balcony seats and just go downstairs to GA anyway.
Right. Yeah.
We saw the Birthday Massacre, which I love that band so much. And it was at the Warehouse Live ballroom. But when we got there, I don't remember what they called this other room, but it's essentially a smaller room that holds anywhere from 100 to 350 people. And I saw Skinny Puppy there back in 2011. And I knew what we were getting into whenever we purchased tickets for this. I was like, oh, this is a really close quarters thing. It's nothing but standing room. And the band is on a stage that's like a foot off the ground, and you can stand right in front of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I missed going to more intimate venue shows like that, because those are a lot more special to me, because the bands are more likely to talk with you, interact with you. And they did. And they did.
Yeah.
After that, it was Rob Zombie's Freaks on Parade tour, which I loved every band on there. Mudvayne was not the best that night, and I'm hoping it was just that they were having a bad night. But that tour was amazing. That was at the Cynthia Mitchell Woods Pavilion, which is like the big Houston outdoor amphitheater. There was probably like, 20,000 people there, because they sold their lawn seats and everything for that one.
Yeah, I have with Rob Zombie, I saw him on some tour where the Deftones were on the bill. And so the face you're making about the Deftones, I had the same thing where like I didn't get a good Deftones show. And like everybody I've ever known is always like, oh my God, the Deftones put on such a great show. So like same thing with like when you said that about Mudvayne, it makes me be like, I bet I got a bad Deftones show. Like, you know what I mean? Like I must have got the bad one.
Yeah, you definitely did. I saw them on the Diamond Eyes tour that they did with Mastodon and Alice in Chains. Oh my God, that show was amazing too. But the most recent ones that I've gone to were the Rob Zombie one and the Weird Al tour that is going on currently. And in between those, we've been to a couple of the All Elite Wrestling Dynamite TV shows at the Fertitta Center in Houston, which is the University of Houston's basketball arena. And it's not even really an arena. It's like, I think it holds maybe like 2,000 people.
Right.
It's a little smaller than our local Civic Center here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And that one holds like 4,000. And this is a smaller place. So anywhere in there is a good seat if you want to watch it. And you're on TV too. So it's wild.
Yeah, AEW, even though they're from Jacksonville, they're coming here in like a week and a half, and they're in an amphitheater, like Michelle, like Pine Knob, like they're like the ring's going to be like right up by the stage, and so it's going to be interesting. So
I've seen their setup there like that. It's actually really cool, like the way they do it. You'll enjoy it. There's not a bad seat in the house, so if you go, I too have been to a wrestling show since all the lockdowns, but I went to Monday Night Raw. I went to the competitors product, and it was fun. Eric Bischoff was there. He got blood thrown all over him because somebody screwed up somebody else's wedding or something. It was a fun night.
Was that nice. With Kyle?
Yes. Okay. Yep. So for me, like pretty much I've been to all of it. Since then I've literally gone and seen one person with an acoustic guitar in a bar. I've seen, club style shows. Again, Weird Al, I'd put it like the mid-level. That was probably one that was like around 1,000 people. I've gone to arena shows. I've gone to amphitheater shows. Now I do have a caveat though. I went to see the only stadium show I've been to so far was actually the first concert that I went to after all the lockdowns. It got thrown right into the fire, went right into a stadium show, and it was Guns N' Roses. But to say that show was undersold would be an understatement. Like it's got to be the least amount of people I've ever seen in a stadium in my entire life. And if you listen to GNR and their management and so on, they're like, oh, it was too soon after the lockdowns. No, it's because you were charging like way too much money for the version of Guns N' Roses that you're carting out there every night. Like if I want to hear Ethel Merman sing Guns N' Roses, I can just pay someone to impersonate her. I don't have to have Axl do it for $300, So the people knew what they were getting with that tour, and it way undersold. So like, yes, I was in a stadium, but there was like a theater amount of people in the stadium. You know what I mean? So it counts that I was there, but it wasn't, really a full on. Let me put it this way. It wasn't the stadium show you saw, and by that, I'm saying the amount of people.
Right.
So what kind of procedures, and Michelle, you dipped into this a little bit, and I'll kick us off on this. What kind of procedures have you guys seen in place? Like, I got a couple of things I want to touch on, and then I'll see if you guys had to deal with this type of stuff. First of all, I've only been to one show so far where masks were absolutely mandatory, and there were like people with flashlights making sure that everybody had their masks on all through the performance. And that was, I went to see Ween at the Wiltern Theater in Los Angeles, and it was very, very, very soon after things started up again. And I mean, I'm not kidding you. If you took your mask down to like wipe your nose. Somebody was there with a flashlight, like during the performance, to be like, put your mask back up. You're like, okay, but I'm still going to wipe my nose though. And then I'm going to put my mask back up, you know? And then I've also only been to a couple of shows where even though all of the paperwork enforces you have to have your Vax card, I've only been to one show, and it was that show where they even asked for or looked at anybody's paperwork coming in, like including, we just went to Weird Al 2 nights ago, and that is plastered all over everything to do with that Weird Al tour, which I should, by the way, we never get into like politics and all that stuff on the show. It is nothing to do with where you stand on vaccines or any of that stuff. If you're an artist who's going to be in a room with 500 to 50,000 people every night, as far as I'm concerned, put in whatever precautions you want to. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not complaining that it was plastered all over the Weird Al stuff. I'm saying I totally understand it. But then we just walked right in and nothing was checked. So we can just go kind of back through this in reverse. Like, Richie, what kind of stuff have you seen in place, and was it enforced, or are you seeing it dissipate as we go on further?
Okay, so I did forget to mention one concert amidst all the other ones I mentioned. Tool at the Toyota Center. That was another one that we went to. And as far as like, because that does lead into the whole vaccine card thing.
Right.
So initially, when most of these tickets were bought for these shows, because as anybody listening well knows, most tickets for concerts go on sale well in advance of the show. So
yeah.
Before it got there, all the COVID-19 protocols were put into place where,
right,
especially for Hella Mega Tour, since it was like, I want to say it was like June or July of last year that we saw that. And it was fresh out of, lockdown. They were coming back. So we had to have our vaccine cards with everything up to date, like all of our boosters and all that stuff. And then masks, once you were seated, you could take your mask off. But if you were up and moving around, walking amongst everybody, you would put it back on. They wanted you to.
Gotcha.
And again, not to be, like to bounce off you, not to be political or anything or where you stand on it. This isn't, most of our concerts we go to are in Texas, and it is a very red state. So a lot of people are a little looser with a lot of the protocol.
Oh, I wouldn't know anything about that broadcasting for Florida. I have no idea what you're talking about with people being loose.
Yep, for sure. But yeah, like Hella Mega, a lot of people were actually, listening and following the protocol. By the time we got to the Angels and Airwaves show, it was becoming optional. Like certain venues were being optional for it, where they were encouraged but not enforced. And that's kind of my experience with every one of these other shows that I mentioned. Even the AEW Dynamite taping, like the first one we went to, they wanted you to wear the masks. Second one we went to, they weren't even required.
Right.
And the last 3 concerts I've been to, they were not required but suggested. And the more we've moved along since coming back into concerts, the leniency was kind of there, but then now it's almost non-existent. It's it feels like concerts did decade ago, but I can still tell that there are people themselves that are putting their own precautions in place, which is smart. You should be able to do that.
Of course. It's funny that you mentioned the thing where like we bought these tickets so long ago, because 2 of the last 3 concerts that we've been to, the tickets for these shows were purchased in like 2019. And we're just now, and we still have, this is true, we have a pair of tickets for a show that still isn't happening until the middle of 2023. And the tickets were bought in the end of 2019.
That's insane. See, I have to me, it's a horror story because I ultimately did not get to see this artist. I bought tickets for my partner's birthday to go see The Weeknd on the After Hours tour at the Toyota Center. So obviously that got rescheduled when the first wave of COVID hit. And then it was rescheduled like a year later.
Right.
A year later, the date rolls around. About 2 months before it's supposed to happen, there's another release. Oh, it's getting pushed back again. Okay. So it gets pushed back. I actually bought tickets to 2 shows, the Houston and the New Orleans show. The New Orleans show on the first reschedule got canceled altogether. So there was just nothing. I got refunded for that. And then we were gearing up to go to the second rescheduled one. And then he announces he's moving everything into stadiums for the Dawn FM tour.
Right.
So Houston went bye-bye, and Dallas was the closest one. Could not afford tickets to Dallas, could not afford to drive to Dallas on the day that it was happening. So I ultimately just got screwed out of seeing him. And I was like, no.
So if you're listening, The Weeknd, you owe Richie a show.
The Weeknd.
Yeah, that's how I have to pronounce it that way. You leave out a letter, that's how I pronounce your name, The Weeknd.
Yeah, I am in a weakened state from not seeing you.
Oh, good one.
Abel.
Michelle,
I'm not able to see Abel, and I'm very disappointed.
Solid. What kind of procedures have you saw? You touched on it a little bit earlier, Michelle. Is it the same thing where you were saying people be like, yes, you have to wear your mask, and then now not so much, or what?
So I missed all of that. Like, I was pregnant and then I was a new mom. So like there was like this probably 9 to 12 month period that I didn't go anywhere. Like, it was a pandemic, and this was, I was trying to keep things safe in my house. I was thinking about it, and I was like, why didn't I go to more things? And that's exactly why. So I started going out at the tail end, with that City and Color show. And I remember they did check fax cards at the door, but like by check they meant like you just flashed it, like,
right, yeah,
Jedi mind tricked them, just like, this is my vaccine card, it's fine.
Right.
And that was the only show that I've ever, and they didn't even require masks. It was just like, do what you want,
right,
whatever makes you feel comfortable. And after that, I don't think I've been to another show where there was any sort of requirements whatsoever. But I think I was late to the party because that was like in February. So.
Right. So one thing you definitely can comment on, though, is if people, how are things looking around you? As you know, and I'm famous for on the show, I am old man yelling at the sky about people on their damn cell phones at concerts, not paying attention to the thing they paid for. And it all ties into ticket prices for my what my 2 cents is worth. If you're paying hundreds of dollars for tickets, why are you buried in your cell phone? But to each their own, I guess, as long as the screen isn't lit up or you're not holding up an iPad in front of me trying to take pictures no one's ever going to look at again. Michelle, what are you seeing? Are you seeing people around you appreciate shows more, or are they all doing what they did before the lockdowns?
Oh, it's just the same. It's just all the same. I think the last show that I went to was Orville Peck at the Royal Oak Music Theater, which is smaller than...
That's a theater. It's got it right there in the title, so it's about a couple thousand people.
I know, but it's probably smaller than the Fillmore.
Anyway, I'd have to look it up, but they're probably close, but go on.
And it was packed nuts to butts, and people, like, we had like a private like balcony sort of thing. There was only like 10 people in there.
Right.
And you could just look out, and everybody had their phones up, and they were, I mean, in general, they were all having a good time, but I didn't notice anybody being more respectful, I guess, by your standards, like that nobody was.
By my standards, by the standards of common decency. Yes. So I found this interesting, and I'm going to throw this over to you in a second, Richie. I went to 2 concerts at the same venue about 5 days apart. One was Ringo Starr, which was a free-for-all, regular, there are no rules, do whatever you want kind of concert. And then 5 days later in the same venue, I saw Jack White, where when you walk into the concert, they lock your phone in a bag and you are unable to touch it for the entirety of the show. And I will tell you that 90% of the crowd was buried in their phones for almost the entirety of, I should say for Ringo Starr's age, they were buried in their jitterbugs. But 90% of the show, people were buried in their phones, or they were standing up in front of other people running video that no one's ever going to watch again and taking 700 pictures that no one's ever going to look at ever again. And the crowd had mild reactions at best. And without going into a huge diatribe, I will tell you that Ringo Starr's all-star band this year includes like Steve Lukather, Colin Hay. So we were hearing Africa and Rosanna and Who Can It Be Now and Down Under and whatnot. And these are the masters of their craft doing what they do better than anybody else, with Ringo Starr on the drums and receiving golf claps at best because people were absolutely buried in their phones. So then 5 days later, I go back to the same venue. The parent has the teacher has to take away the toys so people pay attention to what they paid for. And I'm telling you, that crowd was absolutely on fire for every single thing that came out of Jack White's mouth because they were forced to pay attention.
How can you not? It's Jack White.
How could you not be with Ringo Starr, dude? You got
Ringo
Starr.
Like,
Ringo
if
Starr
they had the same experience with Ringo, like they would have been more than impressed.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So when people were forced to pay more attention, they were like, "Holy shit, this is the best show ever!" Right? But conversely, 5 days before that, people are buried in their phones and not even realizing what's happening in front of them. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, Michelle, even from the first show out, nobody cared. Like people instantly were like, I got to put this on social media so no one ever looks at it. Like it just, oh, Jesus Christ. So,
do you think that the age range of the Ringo Starr show was significantly higher than the age range of the Jack White show?
oh, I know it was. I was there. It was like, it was like 50 and up for Ringo and 40 and down for Jack, except for
So
me.
do you think that might be why the crowd energy was different? Because you got some old people and some young people?
No, I can tell you it was absolutely because people were just buried in their phones. Like, I'm pretty sure that nobody even, if you were to quiz most of that crowd, they would have no idea that like they saw Rosanna played by the guy who played Rosanna.
No, I get that it was the phone thing, but I feel like old people have no shame.
Oh, no, there was a bunch of old people like up and dancing around and stuff while they had their cell phones blocking other people's views. So, yeah, they were.
How are their grandchildren going to see video in the future of them at the Ringo Starr show unless they shoot it at the Ringo Starr show?
Exactly. Yep. Richie, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the same thing? People not really caring? And did you see it from the start though? Because I feel like you started going a little earlier than us. Did people not care right off the bat, or?
Yeah. I saw a mixture of things, to be honest with you. So, okay, at the Green Day, Weezer and Fall Out Boy show, there was a mixture of people. Obviously, more people that were way in the back in the stands were filming from afar.
Right.
But everybody that I saw on the floor and lower level seating were just locking eyes with everything going on stage. It was my first time seeing Green Day. I've seen the other bands plenty of times. It was my first time seeing Green Day, and I took like 2 photos because I wanted to capture what the stage looked like. Everything else, I was just like dead attentive to them. Like it was fun, and that's been my experience. I should say that's been my experience this go around. I used to be the person that wanted to take videos of like my favorite songs, which if it was a band I really enjoyed, it was every freaking song.
Right.
But,
yeah.
But I started just taking a small sample like video of a song from a band, and for the rest of set, it's phone's in my pocket because I want to enjoy it. All the pictures I'm taking now are in my brain.
Right.
That's how it used to be, and that's how I grew up.
Yeah, we've done episodes on this, so I'm not going to labor it too much. But my favorite excuse is, well, what if an emergency happens? I assure you, emergency happened when Led Zeppelin toured. I assure you that emergencies were not invented in 2010. They happened before that, and they were handled, and they would still be handled if you were to be off of Facebook for 2 hours while you watch the thing you paid for.
Exactly. To see another thing that happened at the Rob Zombie show, which I think it's a hilarious story that I'll get into in a second. But like at that show in particular, most people were very attentive. I mean, I saw some people around me with their phones out, filming and stuff. But for the most part, it was seeing people my age with their younger children and their parents. So you had like 3 different generations of people, like the people that grew up and were around when White Zombie was a thing, the kids that grew up on Rob's solo career, and those same people introducing their kids to this style of music, which I do have to say they knew what they were getting into bringing their kids to this show. Because when Rob started playing Shake Your Ass, Smoke Your Grass, anybody that likes Rob knows what kind of imagery he brings with like the animated stuff and his video wall. He directs all of his own stuff and throws it on the video wall for his stuff. So without getting too explicit, there were a lot of very explicit sexual images and things happening. And it was like his 3rd or 4th song into the set. So you see these kids having fun up until that song. And then you just see the people just walking their kid completely out, eyes covered, like old school, like back when your parents would have to take you to a rated R movie because they didn't have a babysitter, and then they had to put their hands over your eyes during any of the parts they didn't want you to see, but you totally knew what was happening anyway.
Right. I think the most
I was just giggling the whole time. I was like, oh my God, there they go.
Yeah.
That kid's going to be scarred for life.
Yeah. I think the most diverse age crowd that I saw so far was at Roger Waters, which again was the same. You had the, sometimes grandparents who were, huge, big into Floyd when they were coming up, and then you have his kid and his kid, there was a huge, and same thing with how political that show is, man, there was like, cause there's some footage, real life footage shown on that huge screen, and people were like covering their kids' eyes and stuff. And I was like, you know what you were getting into. I want to round us out on our last point here, and we'll go to Michelle for this because for 2 reasons. One, I feel like you're going to be, going to a lot more shows, ramping up like to what the level that you used to be. with going to shows, and you came into it late enough to where you kind of have a different perspective on returning to shows than Richie or I do. It sounds like you more or less got like a closer, by the time you started going, things were closer to how they were before. So do you think we'll ever get back to a point where concerts just feel like they did beforehand? Or do you think there's always going to be that like sense in the room of like, there was an airborne pandemic, right? Like, you know what I mean? Do you think that'll be a thing or no?
So not to go on a side tangent, but I also have to go to conventions for my work.
Right.
It's like just like large ballrooms with, thousands of people.
Yep.
And I'm dealing with them like the general public all day long. And I'm on flights and I'm doing all this stuff. And this probably sounds bad to say, I don't even think about it.
It doesn't cross your mind. That's not bad to say. That's fine.
And I don't even we're going to see Marcus Mumford next week. I didn't even check to see if there were any health requirements. I'm sure that there are not, but until we talked about it, I was like, oh, maybe I should look into that. Like, what if you have to be vaccinated? I don't know. I should probably look.
It's interesting that you say that, because we did VIP for Weird Al, and so we were able to meet him. And part of the VIP was you had to wear a mask for the meet and greet. If Weird Al's going to come face to face with 1,000 people, he's not going to get you all over him. Like, he's going to have the mask there, right? To keep you off of Weird Al. And because we had the mask on for like the hour-long thing that the VIP was, we went to the gym the next day, and I had, that feeling when masks were a thing full time, that feeling you had where you're like, I don't have my mask with me. You remember that feeling?
I still get that walking into work sometimes where I'm like, oh my God, where's my mask?
I had that feeling at the gym the next day. And I was like, I had that feeling at the gym the next day though, because I had to wear it for like over an hour at the Weird Al thing. And I was literally like, oh, well, Weird Al's not in the gym. It's fine. So
COVID might be.
It'll be fine. So you don't. Yeah. COVID definitely is probably at the gym, but Weird Al isn't. So no, I don't think that's bad to say that it's human nature for things to want things to go back to normal.
Yeah. Like I'm getting on a flight tomorrow, and like I didn't even second guess. Like I'm just gonna do me. I'm gonna go to another convention this weekend.
Hey,
and it's gonna be great.
Sidebar: you had mentioned on the show previously that you weren't going to Mumford and Sons or Marcus Mumford because you couldn't afford. Did you found money to go to Mumford? Is that the deal?
A good Samaritan just blessed me with cash.
Wow, God, that sounds like an awesome human being.
His name might be Russ.
Could be. Oh, whoa, that's my name. Richie, we're going to go. What's that, Michelle?
It rhymes with Bus Robinson.
Richie, do you think we're going to get there? Are you already there? Do you think there's going to be any lingering effects of this on the industry?
Honestly, I am about where Michelle is with I don't think about it anymore. And for me, it's because I'm double vaxxed and double boosted. So I don't think about it. This is going to become... There's going to be several variants. We know this. They're ever changing, and it's going to be something we live with now. So I think the more people are, taking their own precautions, they can feel safe about it, and they can not think about it.
All right. Well,
that's kind of where I'm at with it, and I think it will get to that point one day. I really do think it will.
I don't disagree with either of you, but I do want to. I'm going to go ahead and poo-poo on the sleeping arrangements here, and tell you that
you poop the bed.
Yeah, I am going to shit the bed, as they say. Here's the thing. I can give you one word that I believe is going to stick with us for at least the next decade: postponed. And the reason why is this is why we can't have nice things. Somebody somewhere working a venue, in the entourage, at a meet and greet is not saying and doing the things that they're supposed to say and do. And so we're going to continually get variants going around the camps of these people who are on tour. Okay. So I don't think that's going to come to a close for a very long time. We were supposed to see Ringo 4 months ago. And this is a tour to Richie's point earlier, this tour had already been postponed. Right. And then we got within 2 weeks of the show, Ringo gets COVID and the whole tour got postponed. And then we saw our show. And then a week after our show, Ringo got COVID again and the tour got postponed again. Right. Weird Al is the same way. There's been a bunch of rescheduled dates for Weird Al. And these are just ones that are in front of my mind because I've been there. This is absolutely going to continue to be a thing, I bet, which sucks. And again, I'm not being political. Just follow the goddamn rules, man. Whatever the rules, if you don't like it, then don't go to the show. If you don't like it, then don't work for that tour company or that concert venue or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff isn't manifesting itself out of thin air. It's happening because somebody is saying that they followed the rules and they didn't. And then this stuff is flying around. And then you're not just seeing, it's not a matter of, oh, Ringo Starr had to postpone a show. It's about travel arrangements for the, thousands of people on the show, the people making their living working the shows. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't, I mean, like, if I'm wrong on that, either of you speak up. Do you think that I'm blowing that out of proportion, or do you think we're going to end up with a bunch of postponements still?
I think it's going to be more prevalent. Like, people are going to postpone more for COVID. Obviously, I just feel like there's just like, you get COVID, you have to quarantine. Like, that's just the rules. But I do feel like it did happen. I've had shows canceled on, for before COVID for the flu, or, someone in the band member is, has the poops. And so I just feel like it's not,
we all remember those big concert tours canceled or postponed because of the poops. But not 3 and 4 high profile tours a year. Yeah. 2 and 3 times per tour. It's going to be
more prevalent because that's just the way that this is working right now. And I mean, I do feel like it's going to stay that way for a long time, but I also feel like that's not a bad thing. Like, you shouldn't be going and to work. These people are working when you're sick. Like, you should stay home, whether it's COVID, whether it's the flu, whether it's
right. But my rant was more squarely aimed at the reason why people are getting it. It's because somebody's not following the rules. But I'm saying it's not
necessarily a bad thing
to not follow the rules and get other people sick.
Not those people.
Oh, those people. What do you mean? What do you mean, those people?
Yeah. To postpone because you have COVID. Like, I mean, you
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the root cause is the bad thing, not the postponement.
I know, but I'm also saying that it's not the worst. I mean, it might be the worst for some people. If they don't get to go see The Weeknd, then it might be the worst thing. But.
Yeah,
it was definitely bad.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Richie, to tie this up, I would assume you agree that postponements for whatever reason are going to continue to be a thing.
Yes, they will be. I mean, they've happened before. They've happened, recently, and they'll continue to happen.
I kid you not. In a week and a half, we have a 4-hour drive planned and a whole weekend stay and everything based around a Stevie Nicks show. A person who has had to postpone her tour twice already because this is why we can't have nice things. And somebody didn't follow the rules somewhere. And, somebody in her entourage comes down with COVID, and then everybody's got to go on lockdown. So, like, I literally in a week and a half, I'm like, well, maybe we're going on a road trip and maybe not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I was so concerned about when we flew to Denver to go to Red Rocks. I was like, not that I wouldn't like to go to Denver, but like, I will burn this place to the ground if Kaleo gets COVID and they cancel the show.
Well, you heard it here first, everybody. Michelle hates the city of Denver. That's on record now.
Michelle, the arsonist, right?
Also that.
That's right.
Richie, thanks so much for stopping by and having this discussion with us. I know there was a bit of a roulette thing going on with our upcoming topics there for a little bit, but you are, first of all, you're a skilled podcaster, so I'd want to have you on to talk about anything. And 2, you're such an avid event goer that I feel like this is a great topic for you to cover because, you've been to as much or more than we have and have your own perspective on the whole situation. So we appreciate having you, brother.
Shoot, thanks for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'd love to come back anytime you want me on.
Well, I don't know about that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, okay, fine.
Yeah,
Michelle, you're fired.
We're going to have to postpone that episode. So I know we covered this earlier, but if somebody said, holy cow, this Richie guy is amazing, and how do I hear more of them? How do they hear more of you, Richie?
Go to supermediabrospodcast.com and you can listen to past, present, and future episodes of our podcast. And if you want to listen to any of our friends on the OddPods Media Network, go to oddpodsmedia.com because we like to share our friends with you too. If you want to come listen to us, we're going to share our friends.
Currently, the network has a little bit of everything, and very soon the network will have a lot more of everything. We've got some cool expansion plans coming up, and it's Michelle's got a 2nd and 3rd podcast she's starting that are going to be joining the network. It's going to be pretty sweet.
It's pretty much just me ranting about things I don't like.
Right. Which is this show, but it'll just be you on your own. Coming up on the program next week, we have a totally epic cover battle, and this, I feel, is going to be a barn burner. We are going to cover the song Last Kiss, which many people think is an original song that Pearl Jam came up with and released, but they did not. The original was by an artist named J. Frank Wilson. That is probably news to a lot of people listening to the program and are going to stop what they're doing and look up the original on Spotify. It's a wildly different take on the same song that everybody knows, so it should lead to a very interesting discussion. So that is going to be on the program next week. And we have a really good guest for that too. Dave from the Beer in Front podcast is going to be with us, and Dave knows his way around a song. So I think he's going to bring quite a bit of nuanced and cool discussion to that episode. Like we said at the beginning, please make sure to check out Super Media Brothers and go check out, if you like any of the topics they cover, then you definitely want to hear their takes on those things that interest you. And as we always say, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
The Infectious Groove Podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.